How long were you married before your husband was drafted?
Before he was drafted? Oh, he
Yes.
was a regular.
He was a regular anyway.
Yes.
Boys.
He was called up like in the August. But of course the war wasn't declared until September. And then it was 1941, that was 1939 he was called up. But of course 1941, that was when he went abroad. And then of course Pauline, he came home on leave of course, and then of course I was expecting Pauline, you know, and he was taken prisoner. Oh, I had Pauline at the Christmas time. That was my first little girl, you know.
Was he here?
No, he was abroad then. And then in the January, just as I came out of hospital after having Pauline, he was taken prisoner of war.
Oh.
Of course.
How did you know?
Through the Red Cross. They found him first. And he was a prisoner of war in Germany, and then he was transferred to Italy. But of course, as I say, it was very upsetting at the time then. So
I can imagine if you just had a baby.
Yes. Of course, when you look at it like that, I mean, a child comes to comfort you. You see, he'd gone away, but you'd got this comfort.
Yes.
Your first little girl. Of course, life was pretty quiet, really, then, other than the air raids coming over, you know.
Could you send him photographs of the baby and things?
Well, I did send photographs, but she'd be about 6 months old when he first got any. You know, because he was going from one camp to another.
Yes.
You know, chasing over, and as fast as you sent a letter,
Yes.
he'd be moved then to another place. So, of course, they had to be travelled on all the time. But really, the first joy was when we got a letter ourselves, you know, from him.
How soon was that?
Ooh, a couple of months, probably longer than that, because the Red Cross let me know before I heard from him, you see.
You got a letter from the Red Cross, did you?
A letter from the Red Cross, yes.
What did it say?
Just telling me that they found my husband. He was reported missing, you see,
Yes.
in the first place. And then they told me like that he was a prisoner of war in the German hands.
How did you feel when you heard that?
Oh, greatly relieved, like the rest of them, you know. Yeah.
How long was he missing?
Well, it'd be about from the January till about March. Before I knew, of course they get scattered about, you see. That's how it is. And then of course they turn up, they get just drafted from the regiment, lost if you know, probably when there's bombs going or anything like that. So many go one way and so many go another, and then they're lost sort of thing on the desert, aren't they?
Yes.
Until the Red Cross find them.
Where was he taken prisoner? He was...
I think it was in Germany, love.
He was actually in Germany.
I just forget whether it was vice versa. Shall I ask him?
No.
I'll ask him. I don't know whether it was Germany and then Italy, or
Yes.
whether it was Italy. On the Western Deserts. That was how we was taken prisoner, Duck. On the Western Desert, and then he was captured by the Germans. And then he was transferred from Germany to Italy. And of course, he was there then until about 4 years.
In
Italy,
Yes.
from Germany
Yes.
and Italy, the two prisoner of war camps. But of course we were able to send Red Cross parcels, you know, parcels through the Red Cross to them.
How often could you send them?
Oh, not very often. Probably every 2 months. And then we'd get just a letter or a card occasionally from him.
How often about would you hear from him then?
Well, I should say once in 3 weeks or once in a month. But the first joy was when he first knew about his little girl.
Oh yes.
And she'd been here on 6 months then, 6 months old.
How did you decide
And
to call?
he sent a letter to say that he'd received the news of his first little girl. Yeah.
How did you decide yes on a name for her? Could you ask him what he wanted
Oh,
to call her?
we dealt with that before, and he
Oh,
picked the name before he went away. You know, yeah, went abroad. Mm.
What sort of things did you send him?
Oh, chocolate and knitted socks and helmets and all those sort of things. You know, clothing to keep them warm.
What sort of clothing?
Woolen gloves, knitted socks, helmets,
Things
scarves,
that you'd made yourself?
things like that, yes. And then from the church, and the school children used to have little collections with their penny pocket money
Yes.
and send them cigarettes. But regards food or anything like that, you couldn't send anything like that. But you couldn't send a parcel direct. It had got to go through the Red Cross.
Oh, I see.
And so how did you do that?
There was a depot at Stoke, London Road, Stoke. And we used to go down there and fill the cards in the next of kin. And they used to send them off to London. Then, of course, from London over to there.
But you'd take your things that you'd knitted.
Yes, yes.
But whether he got
and
the
they
actual
packed them. They packed them for you, you
Yes.
see. You couldn't just parcel anything up and send it. You'd got to take whatever you'd got and they'd pack it and send it off for you.
So he didn't necessarily get the socks that you'd knitted.
Well, you got a chance on that.
Yes.
You see, whether they did or whether there was so many parcels and you have one and you have one, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, you couldn't just write ordinary letters, you know. They were like a special airmail letter card we used to send out to them.
Did you used to think about what you were going to write, since it was such a small space?
Oh yes, yes. I used to try and put a little bit of each day how the baby was growing and little things that she started to do, you know. Yeah.
So your letters wouldn't be censored then?
Oh yes. Oh yes, this was censored. Mine was censored. But if there was anything in, it was blacked out. Which, I mean, you didn't put anything in, but occasionally you'll probably put something in quite innocent. But it was blacked out.
Like, what might be blacked out?
Well, anything really that would give the enemy any, say you say, suppose you said, oh well, we've had an air raid or anything today. That'd be blacked out, you know.
Yes.
Or, cheerio now, I'm just going into the shelter, the sirens have gone. Something like that, you know. It would be blacked out, yeah. Never thinking of anything like that. But, the only thing was, time seemed to drag with having a little one, you know. And then, of course, at night time, when the air raids, when the sirens went.
You were living completely on your own?
And the baby, yes.
Baby.
Yes. Of course, as I say, all I used to think about was just the men folk coming home. And that was the day they did come home. Union Jacks and flags and everything out, you know. Yeah.
Can you remember the day he came back?
He came back, oh yes. Yes, of course, I knew that he was in England, he'd been flown out to here, like. But I didn't know the actual day as he was coming. And of course he just walked in, but all the avenue was dressed up with the flags and everything, you know.
Had it been ready long? If you didn't know exactly when he was coming back, how did they know when to hang the flags out?
Well, just expecting him any day. That's why they put them all out. But he just walked in.
Can you remember the first thing you said to him?
Thank goodness that's over.
Yeah.
Mm.
How did you manage for money when he was away? Did you have money, or did you have an allowance, or what?
Well, allowance wasn't much, love. But you've got to be very, very careful, because what little bit you've got to pay your rent.
Mm.
And of course there wasn't a great lot of food as you could get, only on these green cards for children, you know, expectant mothers and things like that.
Were you allowed more because of the baby?
Oh no,
No.
you were allowed no more. The only thing was, you see, if oranges, bananas or any fruit came into the shops, you had a green card then, and that was you could go and get a few for the child.
The green card was for the child.
That was it, the allowance. You'd got to show your card to get fruit, oranges or anything like that for the child. But such as us, no.
Was it very hard bringing up a baby then?
Well, really it was hard to bring any children up, because, I mean, especially your first one, because you'd got to make your clothes coupons to run out. You couldn't just go and buy things from the shop without your coupons, you see. Of course, as I say, you can't really make it interesting to you young ones, you know.
But
Explain
it is.
yourself, you know what I mean.
It is interesting.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It really is,
Yes.
because it's something we have no idea, you know.
Any other question?
Um,
No, you haven't
what,
really.
What sort of things did he write about? Was he able to tell you anything?
Well, no, only just that he was all right, whether they were or whether they weren't, you know, and being treated all right, whether they were or whether they weren't. You've just got to believe that.
Yeah.
They were only just like small letter cards as they could write.
Yeah.
Did you ever get news of him through any other wives at all?
After the Red Cross, through the War Office, of course.
But you never met anybody around here
Oh no.
who'd heard any news of him or
No,
anything like that?
no.
You didn't go to any meetings in Hanley? I think there were some meetings, weren't there, for wives of prisoners of war?
Associations.
Or missing people,
Yes.
No. Just a friend of mine up at Basford. She had her husband, he was killed in the Middle East, same place as my husband was taken prisoner of war. But he never came back, but you could never believe he was being young people, you know.
Did you
Young
always believe that
couples.
your husband had come back?
In my own mind, yes. Yes, I never really, because although you get the notification that they're missing, it doesn't say that they're actually killed or anything like that. But after a certain time, they send a letter to say that your payment will be reduced. You see, of course, they're classed then as dead if they don't find them. So your money is reduced then.
Is that what happened to you?
No, they found, I had that letter, but they found him in time. But I mean, the money isn't much.
No.
No, money isn't much at all.
What sort of made you believe that he would come back?
It's just faith.
Yes.
Just faith you put in it. You think it can't happen. Although it's there and they tell you and you've got it in writing, you can't take it in. Yet, I mean, there's a lot of people that have got to take it in. But somehow or other you can't. You can't believe it.
Some people went to fortune tellers and spiritualists. Did you ever?
No, no.
You didn't believe in?
Well, it never entered my head.
No.
Really, you know. No.
What sort of things did you do during the day? I mean, you didn't work, you didn't take a
Oh,
job
no,
because
no.
of the baby.
Well, I did until, of course, I was expecting my first child, you know.
Yes.
Worked in ammunitions then. But of course, he wasn't prisoner of war then, but he was abroad. But I worked at Swinnerton in the ammunitions. Then of course after that it was pretty quiet life, you see. Only just me and the baby there.
Did you see any neighbours? Did they?
Oh yes, the neighbours were quite friendly, but I mean, I'd no family, only the two brothers, and they were both abroad. One was at Dunkirk and the other one was in India. So of course there was only just the two of us till Daddy came home.
So did you do any voluntary work for prisoners of war at all yourself?
No, I couldn't say as I did. No, I was just a quiet life, just me and the daughter, the baby.
Can you remember any good times that you had?
No, I never had none, Doc.
What about sort of like Christmas
Yes.
and
No.
times like that? Did you
No.
celebrate Christmas at all?
Well, in a way, just me and the baby. I mean, she was 1 and then she was 2, and just hanging a stocking up, and that was all.
Was he able to send any presents?
Oh
to you?
no, nothing like that. No.
And you couldn't send him anything special?
No, only just cigarettes and chocolate, anything like that.
Couldn't even send her a birthday present?
Oh no, nothing like that. No. And Christmas was just like an ordinary day, only just make it a little bit more for the little girl, you know, that was all.
Did she start to go to school during the war at all?
Pauline, no, she was about 4.5 when her daddy came home, when he first saw her. He hadn't seen her up till then. No, so of course she didn't take to him very quick.
No.
Being like a stranger, you know, living and seeing nobody, only me and her mum, all that time. But of course, you gradually gradually grow to one another.
How do you feel about it now?
I don't know, really, love. I mean, you just really, but it's a good many years ago, you don't look back on that at all.
You just want to forget about it, do you?
Well, really, you've got to forget, haven't you, to live. You can't live with the bygones like that, I don't think. No, you have to try and forget them, hoping that there'll never be any more. That's the only way of looking at it. Yeah.
What? Did you have to sort of take extra precautions having a child that age? Like when there were air raids and things, did you?
Well, I don't know really. Every time I heard the sirens, I used to pick her straight away, you know, up and cling her to me. But I can't say as I always run out in air raids, out into the shelters, especially at night time. We used to she'd have a cot in the corner. Of course, we were never upstairs at night. I had a single bed downstairs, and her cot used to be in the corner, and just hoping, and that was all. But we had several blasts round here, you know, for Shelton Bar and the gas tanks they were after. But they dropped 2 or 3 bombs round, but we never had the actual hit, you know.
Were there any hits sort of around?
Well, nothing compared with Liverpool and London, anywhere like that. But there was several houses demolished down at the bottom of Etruria Bank. And we lived just at the top of Oxford Road, that way. And then there was some in Oxford Road. The gas mains blown up, you know. Your doors blown open and 1 or 2 windows cracked I had. In fact, I've got a piece of shrapnel somewhere in the house now that was stuck in the door from one of the bombs that were dropped.
How did you feel when that sort of thing happened?
Well, just scared, frightened, but you soon forget it.
Did you never want to move away?
Oh no, I never wanted to move out of the house. Oh no, not, especially at night, no, we never moved out.
Why was that?
Just up at Basford.
Why didn't you want to?
Well, I always thought that was the safest place. If I was to die, well, I'm dying in my own home.
I was just wondering, like, you never sort of felt like evacuating to
Oh
anywhere
no,
with a child?
no, because round here it wasn't like London or any of the big cities. It was bad, but nothing that much. Mind you, some people say, oh, it was really terrible. It was. But I mean, comparing with the big cities, what they went through, you'd got, thank God, as you were all right.
Mm.
Yes.
What-
Just live for the day for them to come home, you know. That's all.
Did you ever come across Miss Harrison?
From Mayor Hall?
Yes.
Not in contact with her, but I think she used to do a lot for the prisoners of war, hadn't she?
Yeah.
The wives and that, in sending parcels, or if you needed any help,
That's right.
she'd help you out
Yes.
in that way. Yeah.
Did you send the parcels on your own, or was there a sort of combined? thing?
No, you couldn't send no parcel yourself. You'd got to take it and have it packed by the Red Cross in
They
London
actually-
Road,
yes.
Stoke.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes.
But whatever you wanted to put in, you could put in. Chocolate and things like that. But no tin food.
No.
No, nothing like that.
And cigarettes? No.
Cigarettes, yes.
You could put them into-
send cigarettes, yes.
Did your husband get these things?
Well, more or less they did. If he'd get a parcel, he'd split it up amongst his fellow friends, and if they got one, they used to split it up, you know. Used to just chance whether they got them all or not.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know that. They'd probably get some and then probably wouldn't get the others, you know.
Did you ever think that he might try to escape or anything like that?
Well, no, I don't think that, because they knew what they would get if they were caught. I mean, there was a lot of them trying to make tunnels and the way out and all that. But I think biggest part of them thought, no, it'd be worse for them if they did get away and then they'd get caught.
Yes.
So they wouldn't be any better off.
Yes.
Did you ever have any dreams about him, particularly, dreams that you felt might really have a bearing on him?
No, not really, because the only thing was is you couldn't sleep the same at night, and all as you longed for was, are they safe, are they safe? Will they come back? Yes, they will, you used to say to yourself, you know.
And how did you hear that he was coming back?
Well, in the first place, I think it was now I couldn't tell you what vicar it is, but there was over the radio, the Vatican City used to announce soldiers, prisoners of war, and the numbers, and some priest used to listen out for these, and they gave my husband's number out. Parks, but it was Newcastle on Tyne, but it was a mistake for Newcastle underline, and he sent me this piece of paper. That was the very first time I heard of it, but I hadn't heard it over the wireless, but he sent me that, and that was the first time I ever heard. And then of course I had a letter, a small letter to say that he had been relieved and they were flying him home. But he
Was
wouldn't
that
be
from
coming
him?
straight home, no, from Italy. But he wouldn't be coming straight home, he was a stretcher case, he'd be going into hospital down the south. But as soon as ever he could, he'd be making his way home.
He was a stretcher case.
Yes, they flew the first lot home, the Americans did, you know.
What was wrong with him?
Well, it was really malnutrition, you know, and kidney, and accident he died on the desert with his shoulder, different things like that.
So when did you hear from him that he was coming back?
Well, I couldn't remember the year or the date, love. But
Was it a letter or a
a
telegram?
letter, yes, to say that he'd landed in England and he would be coming home any day. So of course that was all as we heard, and then until he walked in.
And how long was it that you didn't see him for?
Before I had Pauline. So that'd be like 4.5 years.
Had he changed much?
Had he changed? Not a great lot. He'd gone a lot slimmer, you know. And my hair had changed.
Can you remember the first thing he said to you?
Pardon?
Can you remember the first thing he said
Yes,
to
how
you?
your hair's changed.
What
I suppose it was the worry, really.
what did he say when he saw Pauline for the first time?
Well, he just run to her and grabbed her. Oh, my little girl, you know. How I longed. Of course, he got plenty of time to sit and think and wait for the day to see her, you know.
He'd seen photographs of her.
Just little photographs, only small ones, because you couldn't get many photographs taken then, you know, during the war. And what I used to do was send little photographs and stitch them to a letter. And I used to send them to Germany, to Italy first, and then he'd probably move on to Germany, and it'd go round, you know, until he did get them. Yes, and those were the only things as he did get, little photographs.
How often was he being moved around then?
Well, you see, they'd move him from camp to camp.
So you never knew exactly where he was, I suppose.
Yes, I used to write like to a different camp in Italy, and then probably he'd been moved from that camp to the other, and he'd follow on, and then the next time it'd be into Germany. When I'd get a letter then from Germany, I'd have to write there. But when he came home, there was quite a bundle of letters as I'd wrote, the family had wrote, and he'd never received. He'd come home then, they accumulated like that.
Yes.
Then they send them in a bundle and they returned them home. So he read them when he came home, which gave us a laugh. Waste of time sitting and writing and then going all round there and coming back home and reading them.
But I don't suppose you felt it was a waste of time when you were writing them, did you?
Oh no, no. Only when they all came back in a bundle.
Yes.
There was a lot like that, you know.
Did you listen to the radio very much? And did that sort of give you much news of what was going on?
No, not really. No, I didn't listen much. Of course, they were. I think there were 13 times the Vatican City and that. But I didn't know about this until it was nearly too late. And they used to give so many names, numbers out, and you probably you know somebody of that number, the soldier's number, you know. That's how they first knew.
Did it worry you to think about him in a prisoner of war camp?
Well, that sort of thing grows on you. You think like this, love. Well, that's it, and thank goodness he is saved. He isn't killed. He's saved. He's got a chance. Like a lot of young fellows that were taken, you see. They'd got a chance to get home, hadn't they?
Yeah.
Their lives were saved.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't in a good way of being saved, but it was saved.
Yes.
Did you see any Italian prisoners of war round about Stoke? Because there was a prisoner of war camp in Market Drayton.
There was one, what's the name of it now? Eccleshall Way, wasn't there?
Yes, I think it
Yes.
was.
Yes.
But of course I never got out. I didn't go out much during the war at all. Only just daytime, take the child out, you know.
Yes.
Then night time, of course, it was blackout and lock up, and we're both in, and that's it.
Did you find it difficult to get toys for Pauline?
Oh, toys, well, you were just lucky if you could get a second-hand toy. But the airmen and the soldiers used to make a lot of toys, you know, then, during the war. So you could get them then from the paper shop. You know, next to nothing, they used to make them specially for children.
Which airmen?
The airmen's, like in hospitals or anything like that. You know how they are when they're sitting up, and they used to
when
make
they
a
were
lot
injured,
of toys.
Injured airmen.
Yes,
The
that's
soldiers
it.
would make things for the
Yes,
children.
yes.
I see.
Soft toys and little wooden toys, all sorts of things. Yeah.
Did you see a lot of people coming home on leave around here? Were there a lot?
Not really, no. No. Of course, as I say, it was a very quiet life with not going out much, you know.
Were you very lonely?
Well, it grew on me. You know, you are lonely, but of course, having the baby, that occupied the time, and that was all. Because there was like 3 of us in the family when war was declared, and the 3 men went, and I was left alone.
Who was the third man?
My 2 brothers and my husband, you see.
Mm.
2 of them were regulars, and the other one was called up. So it emptied the house.
Your parents went.
Oh no, I haven't had any parents since I was 12.
So you're just completely alone.
Yes, yeah. His mother was living, but she died during the war. My mother-in-law died.
Did you find that more difficult, being totally on your own?
No, I wouldn't say so. No.
And perhaps if there'd been somebody else there to fall back on?
No,
No.
you've just got to fight it out. You've got to live it out and just hope, day in and day out, that something else will happen.
What was your worst moment? Did you ever have any point where you thought, well, you know, I don't think he is going to come back?
No,
Never.
no. No, although the War Office send you that letter, you still don't take it in. There's something there that keeps you going. Just hoping. When is it going to end? When is it going to end? And of course, when you do hear it, as it had actually signed, the joy then. Your heart starts ticking, and now something is going to move, you know. Yeah. Daddy coming home.
Did you have any really bad moments at all yourself?
No, as luck happened, I've always had good health, and so has the child. And I think that is one blessing. It is the main blessing though, isn't it really?
Yes.
Because I managed to just keep going, keep the home going for when they came home. That was the only thing that gave you spirit and kept you going. Because you've got to keep the home going for when they come home.
Yes.
So in fact, the all-important factor was the men.
It
for you.
is,
Yes.
in a woman's point of view.
Yes.
And I think it's that kept them going, most of them. Knowing
Yes.
they've got to keep a home together for when they come home.
Yes. Yes. I think that's